Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah show. We're holding Mishnah Berurah Chelik Dalet. And Mir Hashem, today we will be learning Daf Reish Pei Gimel Amid Beis. We are continuing to learn the halachas of Rosh Chodesh. We pick up today on the bottom line of the Shulchan Aruch on Reish Pei Gimel Amid Aleph, Siman Taf Chaf Beis, in middle of Sif Aleph. We're at the bottom line, very first word on the line, Aval Imloi Amaroi. Our learning today should be a schus for Achenu Beis Yisrael, Hanasudim Batzaru Bashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayamu Bein Bayabasha, Hamakim Yerachim Alehem, V'yaitziyah Mitzaru Lervacha Me'afelu La'iro Mishibud L'Geula, Hashta Ba'gala of Izman Kariv, V'naymar Amen. Our learning should be a schus for Fuah Shalema, for Achi Agadol Mosheber Ben Esther Fradl, Yitzchak Ben Tzion Ben Dusha, Rivka Bashir Aleach, Chava Hadassah Bas Rezel Serel, Yeshua Levi Ben Ahuva Malka Chana, Trani Bas Batsheva and Yerucham Ben Masha, they should all have a refuah shalema b'say shar chel Yisrael. I just noticed something on my desk, and I'm holding it up for the viewing pleasure of one particular listener who knows who he is. Okay, so now let's get to it. Reish Pei Gimel Amid Aleph, bottom line, Siman Taf Chaf Beis, in middle of Sif Aleph. So, in the previous year, we started discussing what happens if somebody leaves out yaaleh from Shemoneh Esrei on Rosh Chodesh. And we began with the case of somebody who forgets to say yaaleh by Ma'ariv. And we said that the halacha is, if you forget to say yaaleh by Ma'ariv, you do not go back in Shemoneh Esrei. You don't go back to Ritzei to repeat it. And if you finish Shemoneh Esrei, you do not repeat Shemoneh Esrei. And we learned that this is all assuming that you hit what I referred to as the point of no return. So you said Ritzei, and you were supposed to insert yaaleh before V'sechazene Neinu B'shuv Chalotzion Barachamim. You did not. You forgot. And you said V'sechazene Neinu B'shuv Chalotzion Barachamim, Baruch Atah Hashem. Once you said the shame, the gig is up. You hit the point of no return. If we're by Ma'ariv, you're not going to go backwards in Shemoneh Esrei. You're not going to shift it to reverse and go back to Ritzei and put yaaleh in its proper place. That's it. It's too late. You're not going to say yaaleh by Ma'ariv, and you're not going to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. And we learned that the reason for this is fascinating. The reason is because Beis Din was not able to be Mekadesh the Chodesh by night. Beis Din was Mekadesh the Chodesh al pi re'iyah. Eidim came and said that they saw the new moon, so that's how you knew it was Rosh Chodesh. Beis Din had to be Mekadesh the Chodesh. Av Beis Din Amr Mekudesh Bekudesh. The Chala Am Amrin Acharav. Av Beis Din Amr Mekudesh. The Chala Am Ein Acharav Mekudesh Bekudesh. That's how they were Mekadesh the Chodesh, but they couldn't do it at night. So they were always Mekadesh the new Chodesh during the day of Rosh Chodesh, after Ma'ariv of Rosh Chodesh was already davened. And therefore, to a certain extent, while it's true that retroactively, that Ma'ariv time period is going to be Rosh Chodesh, right? So the example I gave, I think, was, let's say Rosh Chodesh is Tuesday, right? So the Eidim came, and Beis Din says, okay, fine, we have Eidos that they saw a new moon, so we're going to be Mekadesh Chodesh. When? Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday morning, but they're not going to be Mekadesh Chodesh Monday night. They're certainly not going to be Mekadesh Chodesh Monday afternoon for Tuesday, right? So they're being Mekadesh Chodesh Monday night, Tuesday by day. So what happens Monday night? Once they're Mekadesh Chodesh Tuesday by day, that means that Monday night was Rosh Chodesh. But Beis Din had not yet been Mekadesh Chodesh. Therefore, when you're davening that Ma'ariv on Monday night, you're davening the Ma'ariv before the Kedushas Rosh Chodesh was put into place yet. So you forgot yaaleh, you're not going to go back. So that's it. You lost yaaleh for that tefillah. Now that's all when we're discussing yaaleh by Ma'ariv. Now we're going to move on to yaaleh by Shachris and Mincha. Says the Mechaber, Aval imloy amoroi Shachris u'Mincha. If you failed to say yaaleh in Shemoneh Esrei by Shachris or by Mincha, then machazir enoisai. Then we have to turn you back. You're going to have to fix your mistake, and you're going to have to say me'ena mo'ura. You're going to have to say yaaleh. So how exactly is this going to work? That's going to depend how far you got in Shemoneh Esrei. Says the Mechaber, V'im nizkar koidem shehischil moidim. Let's say you realize your mistake after you said Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion. So you have completed the bracha of avodah. Yaaleh v'yaveh belongs in the bracha of avodah. I explained previously the reason for that is that Rosh Chodesh carries with it avodah requirements. You need to bring a carbon musaf of Rosh Chodesh. So we insert yaaleh v'yaveh and the mention of Rosh Chodesh in the bracha of avodah. We're asking the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring Mashiach Tzidkenu. We should be zeicher to see the Beis Hamikdash rebuilt, and we should be able to perform the avodah of Rosh Chodesh. So yaaleh v'yaveh belongs in the bracha of avodah. But you already completed the bracha of avodah. Baruch Atah Hashem, hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion. You know, it's very funny. I think because of the way that Ritzei, V'sechazena, and Moedim are printed in most Sidurim, I think just simply because of the way it happens to be printed in Sidurim, a lot of people look at V'sechazena Einenu in a funny way, and they tend not to look at V'sechazena Einenu B'shuv Chalutzi and Barachamim as being the closing bracha of Ritzei. Somehow, instead, in their minds, the V'sechazena Einenu B'shuv Chalutzi and Barachamim somehow becomes like an opening to Moedim, which is certainly not true. I'm just opening up one particular... Here, take a look at the way this happens to be a Nusach Svard art scroll interlinear Shabbos Siddur. So look what happens. Here you have the paragraph of Ritzei, okay? Yul Ratzei Tamid Avodas Yisrael Amecha. Then you turn the page, and you have the grayed out paragraph of Yaaleh v'yaveh, right? It's in the gray, they put it, because you don't always say it. Then we have up here on the top of this page, nice and bold, V'sechazena Einenu. It almost looks like Ritzei is one individual paragraph that doesn't happen to have a closing bracha. Then you have Yaaleh v'yaveh, which is properly grayed out because you don't always say it. Then you have something new, V'sechazena, in nice bold letters. It looks like a new paragraph. V'sechazena Einenu B'shuv Chalutzi Barachamim Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion, followed by Moedim. The V'sechazena Einenu B'shuv Chalutzi Barachamim is part of the bracha of avodah. It's part of Ritzei. Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion is the closing bracha of the bracha of avodah. So now, Nazar Linyanenu, let's get back to our topic. The Yaaleh v'yaveh is supposed to be inserted in the bracha of avodah. You forgot to say Yaaleh v'yaveh, and you finished out, you closed out the bracha of Ritzei with the chasima of Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion. So the bracha of avodah is done. And now you realized I didn't say Yaaleh v'yaveh. What do you do in that case? Says the Mechaber, something that sounds like a chiddush, and it is a chiddush. Says the Mechaber, V'im nizkar koidem shehischil moedim. If you remember that you failed to say Yaaleh v'yaveh after Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion, but before you began the next bracha. The next bracha is the bracha of Haidah. The bracha of Haidah begins with Moedim. You did not yet begin the bracha of Haidah because you didn't say the word Moedim yet. Says the Mechaber, what do you do in that case? V'im nizkar koidem shehischil moedim, oimer b'makom shenizkar. You say Yaaleh v'yaveh right then and there. You don't go back to Ritzei, so you don't go back to the bracha of avodah. You don't repeat the bracha of avodah and insert Yaaleh v'yaveh bimkaimai where it belongs. You don't do that. You finish the bracha of avodah, but since you did not yet begin the bracha of Haidah, you could say Yaaleh v'yaveh. You could squeeze it in between avodah and Haidah. Now, there's two interesting components of that. One is that Yaaleh v'yaveh is going to be divorced from the bracha of avodah. It's not going to be in the bracha of avodah. Also, Yaaleh v'yaveh is not going to get a chasima. Like this, Yaaleh v'yaveh would have been in Ritzei, and it would have had a chasima of Baruch Atah Hashem hamachazir shchinasoi l'tzion. Now, it's not in the bracha of avodah, and it's not going to get any chasima, because you're sticking it in, you're squeezing it in between avodah and Haidah. But that's the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. This happens to be a significant machloikis rishonim. This concept of how we do this, it's based on a Gemara, but it's a machloikis rishonim. But Lamaisa, that's how the Mechaber paskins. The Mechaber paskins that you say you're going to complete the bracha of avodah, and then you're going to squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai. Let's go a little bit further in the Mechaber before we turn to the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mechaber weiter, top line, Reish Pei Gimel Amud Beis, V'em lo nizkar ad achar shehischel moedim. But if you already said moedim, so now you already began the bracha of Haidah. You already began the next bracha. V'em lo nizkar ad achar shehischel moedim. So now it depends. When exactly are you going to remember? Im nizkar, you know what? Okay, let's go a little bit weiter. Im nizkar kodim shehishlim tfilasai. If you remember before you complete Shemoneh Esrei, and we're going to have a whole discussion soon, what does it mean, the completion of Shemoneh Esrei? Where exactly is Shemoneh Esrei considered to be completed? But hold that thought for the moment. Says the Mechaber, Im nizkar kodim shehishlim tfilasai. If you remember that you forgot yaaleh v'yavai before you complete Shemoneh Esrei, chayzer l'ritzei. Then you shift it to reverse, go back to the beginning of the bracha of avodah, go back to ritzei, and say ritzei together with yaaleh v'yavai, and then continue weiter. So let's say you did this. Let's say you said the bracha of ritzei. You forgot yaaleh v'yavai. You said Baruch atah Hashem ha'machzir shechinasei l'tzion. Then you went into the bracha of Haidah. Moedim anachnu l'chshatu Hashem Elokeinu. And you completed the bracha of Haidah. Baruch atah Hashem atov shimcha l'chanu ela haidais. I forgot yaaleh v'yavai. Well, you didn't yet finish Shemoneh Esrei, right? Shifted to reverse. Go back to Ritzei. Say Ritzei with yaaleh v'yavai. And then repeat the bracha of Haidah also. You're going to say it over again. And then go weiter Sim Shalom or Shalom Rav and finish Shemoneh Esrei. So if you didn't yet finish Shemoneh Esrei, you're going to shift it to reverse, go back to Ritzei, and whatever you said already from Ritzei and on, you're going to say over again, which is interesting when you think about it, right? Because was there anything wrong with your bracha of Haidah? There was nothing lacking in your bracha of Haidah. You started the bracha of Haidah with Moedim. You finished it out with Baruch atah Hashem hatov shimcha l'chanu ela haidais. You didn't leave anything out in the bracha of Haidah. You might have had a havim in it to think, okay, you're telling me that I goofed up in the bracha of Ritzei because I forgot yaaleh v'yavai. Okay, even though we see that forgetting yaaleh v'yavai is not really a flaw in the bracha of Ritzei, right? Because if you said Ritzei without yaaleh v'yavai, and you closed it off with Hamachzir Shechinasei L'Tzion, but you didn't say Moedim yet, you're going to squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai over there. So, leaving out yaaleh v'yavai is not really a chesaron in the bracha of Ritzei. It's just that you didn't say yaaleh v'yavai. But over here, you finished out Ritzei, you already started the bracha of Haidah, maybe you finished the bracha of Haidah, Baruch Hashem atov shimcha l'chanu ela haidais. You can't squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai anymore. You missed the point of no return. So what are you going to do? So you're going to go back to Ritzei, and go back to Ritzei. I get. Now put yaaleh v'yavai in the right place, but you're going to repeat the bracha of Haidah also. The answer to this riddle we're going to see in the Mishnah Berurah. But that's the way it works. You go back to Ritzei and you repeat everything. So again, for continuity's sake, as the Mechaber says, if you didn't remember yaaleh v'yavai until after you started the bracha of Haidah with Moedim, so now you can't squeeze it in between Ritzei and Moedim anymore. So if you remember before you complete Shemoneh Esrei, which we didn't define yet, chayzer l'Ritzei, shift it to reverse, go back to Ritzei. But if you don't remember until after you complete Shemoneh Esrei, chayzer l'Rosh. You got to daven Shemoneh Esrei over again. Because the failure to mention Me'ena Ma'ura, the failure to mention, why did my computer just freeze? Okay, I assume everything is okay. My computer froze there for a moment. I'm assuming everything is okay. The failure to, so again, in case something got lost, If you didn't remember yaaleh v'yavai until you completed Shemoneh Esrei, you're going to have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Because the failure to mention me'ein ha'ma'ura, the failure to mention yaaleh v'yavai, is a flaw in your Shemoneh Esrei. You weren't yotzei tefillah. You got to go back and you have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Now we're going to pause in the Mechaber there for a moment. When we go weiter in the Mechaber is going to enter into the discussion of what constitutes completing Shemoneh Esrei. When is it called that you finished Shemoneh Esrei without yaaleh v'yavai and therefore chayzel l'rosh? But let's see some Mishnah Berurah first. Turning back to Reish Pei Gimel Amud Aleph, Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Daled. So the Mechaber had said, by Ma'ariv, if you forget yaaleh v'yavai, you're not going to repeat anything. Ein machzirin oisai. But by Shachris and Mincha, machzirin oisai. Here we have an interesting Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Daled. But Kosav HaKnesses HaGedolah. The Knesset HaGedolah writes something that's going to come as a shock to a lot of people, but we don't paskin like this. But Kosav HaKnesses HaGedolah, the Knesset HaGedolah says, when we say that if you forget Shemoneh Esrei, if you forget yaaleh v'yavai by Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis, you have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei, or you have to go back if you didn't finish Shemoneh Esrei yet. The dafka b'shenizkar kodim shehispal al musaf. That's only if you caught your mistake before you davened musaf. So you davened Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis, you finished Shemoneh Esrei, you say, oops, I forgot yaaleh v'yavai. Well, you're still before musaf. Then the Knesset HaGedolah says, don't repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Why? Says the Mishnah Berurah, well, he doesn't explain it yet. Well, no, he does. Sorry, I misspoke a little bit. Knesset HaGedolah says, when is it true that you're going to repeat Shemoneh Esrei? That's only if you did not yet daven musaf. So the case that I gave, you davened Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis. After you finished Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis, you realize, oops, I forgot yaaleh v'yavai. Now, you're holding, let's say, between Shemoneh Esrei and Hal. You certainly didn't daven musaf yet. So in that case, repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Aval, however, im loy niskar ache hispal musaf. But if you don't catch your mistake until after you davened musaf, so you really needed a coffee this morning, and you davened Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis, you forgot yaaleh v'yavai. You said Hal, you still didn't realize you didn't say yaaleh v'yavai. Kriyas HaTorah, you still didn't realize that you didn't say yaaleh v'yavai. Musaf, after Musaf, you say to yourself, did I say yaaleh v'yavai? I didn't say yaaleh v'yavai this morning, Shacharis. Oh, do I have to daven another Shacharis? Knesset HaGedolah says no. If you don't remember your mistake until after you davened Musaf, yotza b'di'eved, your yotza me'ein ha'ma'ura b'di'eved b'ma shehizkir kedushas hayoim b'tfilos Musaf. When you daven Musaf in Shemoneh Esrei, you're speaking all about Rosh Chodesh, right? Rosh Chodesh la'amcha nasata. Zman kapar l'chol toldoisam. Mekadosh Yisrael v'Rosh Chodeshim. So in the Musaf Shemoneh Esrei of Rosh Chodesh, you're definitely going to be mazkir kedushas hayoim. You're going to mention the kedusha of Rosh Chodesh. Oh, you already davened a Shemoneh Esrei of Musaf, and you already mentioned the kedushas hayoim of Rosh Chodesh. Now you don't have to go back and daven another Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis. Yeah, you messed up your Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis. You didn't say me'ein ha'ma'ura, but b'di'eved you already yotza with mentioning kedushas hayoim in the Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, so now you're not going to repeat Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis. So says the Knesset HaGedolah. Yotza b'di'eved b'ma shehiskir kedushas hayoim in tfilas Musaf ve'ein tzarich lachzor ulehispalel Shacharis. And he brings a very interesting precedent for this, the Knesset HaGedolah. Turning to Reish Pei Gimel Amud Beis. Ukemoi demekilinon bazeh b'simen kuf chavav siv gimel b'shliach tzibur lichatchila. By the shliach tzibur, by the chazan, who's davening for the Yomid on Rosh Chodesh, if he forgets yaaleh v'yavai in his Shtilah Shemoneh Esrei, I think that's the case over there, I'm pretty sure, kuf chavav siv gimel, that's the case. I'm checking it up while I'm talking. If he forgets yaaleh v'yavai in his Shtilah Shemoneh Esrei, come on. If he forgets it, we don't say that he has to repeat his Shemoneh Esrei. what we do is we say, listen, he's going to daven Musaf, right? So he's going to mention Kedushas Hayoim in Musaf. Yeah, says the Mechaber. It's, if you're interested, it's on Kuf Nun Aleph, Amid Aleph, and Chelik Aleph. This is Siman Kuf Chavav Siv Daled. The Mechaber over there says, Im Tosh Liach Tzibur Kishes Pal Balachash. If the person who's davening for the Yomid makes a mistake when he's davening his private Shtil Shemoneh Esrei of Shachris, and he leaves out yaaleh v'yavai, La'olam Eine Chayzer Mispal Shenis. We're not going to say that he has to daven another Shemoneh Esrei, but they Tarech HaTzibur. It's going to be Terchat Tzibura. Right? The Chazan finishes Shemoneh Esrei Shel Shachris. Oh, I forgot yaaleh v'yavai. What, he should go daven again now? Before he starts Chazar Shashatz? Make everybody wait? No. Elo soimach ala tefillah shehispal b'kol ram. Okay. Over there, I'm looking at the right Maramakum. Kuf Chavav Siv Gimel, not Siv Dal, Siv Gimel. I'm sorry, Rabbi Isai. Siv Gimel and Kuf Chavav. Kol Makom Shayachid Chayzer Mispal, Shlech Tzibur Chayzer Mispal, Im Tog Kamoisai Kish Mispal B'Kol Ram, Chutz B'Shachris Shel Rosh Chodesh. Over here it's talking about not the Chazan left out yaaleh v'yavai in his Shtil Shemoneh Esrei. He left out yaaleh v'yavai in Chazar Hashatz. Again, Kol Makom Shayachid Chayzer Mispal. Mechaber says in Kuf Chavav, any time that an individual would have to repeat his Shemoneh Esrei if he made a mistake, Shlech Tzibur Chayzer Mispal, the Chazan who's davening for the Amid also has to repeat his Shemoneh Esrei, Im Ta'a Kemoisai, if he made a similar mistake, Kishem Mispal B'Kol Ram, when he's davening out loud, the Chazar Hashatz. Chutz Mishachris Shel Rosh Chodesh, with the exception of Shachris on Rosh Chodesh. Why? Shem Shachach Shliach Tzibur. If the Chazan davening for the Yom Shachris by Rosh Chodesh forgets yaaleh v'yavai, v'lo yizkir yaaleh v'yavai at shehishlam tfilasai, and he doesn't realize, and nobody in the Tzibur realizes, that he missed yaaleh v'yavai until he completes Chazar Hashatz, ein machzirin oisai. We don't say that he has to daven Chazar Hashatz over again. Mipnei Tarech HaTzibur. And what's the reason, says the Mechaber? Shaharei tfilas hamusafin lefanov. Because he still has yet to daven Musaf. Shehu maskir bar Rosh Chodesh. And when he davens Musaf, he's going to mention Rosh Chodesh. So, says the Knesset Agdola, we see a precedent in Kuf Chavav where somebody messed up and didn't say Kedushas Rosh Chodesh. He didn't say yaaleh v'yavai in a Shachris Shemoneh Esrei. The Chazan who's davening for the Amid, Shachris, by Chazar Hashatz, he failed to say yaaleh v'yavai in a Shemoneh Esrei, and we don't say that he has to go ahead and repeat that Shemoneh Esrei. Why? Because he still has Musaf coming up, so he's going to mention Kedushas Hayoim when he davens Musaf. Says the Knesset Agdola, so, same thing over here. If an individual forgot yaaleh v'yavai in his Shtil Shemoneh Esrei of Shachris, and he has not yet daven Musaf, don't make him repeat Shemoneh Esrei. He's going to daven Musaf. When he davens Musaf, he'll mention Kedushas Hayoim, and he'll be yotzei b'diavad with the Kedushas Hayoim of Musaf. And says the Knesset Agdola, the Mechaber says that kind of lechatchila, right? He says, okay, don't repeat Shemoneh Esrei. You're going to have tefillas Musaf. So, yesh lahakel bazel kol panim b'yachid b'diavad. And the Mishnah Berurah says, V'hatikoy b'Magen Avram sham b'Sif Katan Gimel. And the Magen Avram speaks about this over there in Kuf Chavav in Sif Katan Gimel. Aval, however, b'Shiyurei Bracha b'Shem HaRashba, in the Sefer Shiyurei Bracha in the name of the Rashba, Kosav, he writes, the b'yachid, that when we're dealing with an individual, la'olam chayzer, he always has to repeat Shemoneh Esrei if he left out yaaleh v'yavai, v'afilu kfar ispal musaf. Even after he davened the musaf, we're not going to say, oh, you davened the Musaf, you already mentioned Kedushas Hayoim, you don't have to repeat Shachris. No, you have to repeat Shachris. V'chein hiskim b'sefer maru ketzia. Elo de Kosav, he writes, to become Mokum Mishum Suffolk, but since there is Epis Suffolk Ladina, we do have Epis Suffolk Lahalacha, because you do have this Knesset Agdola who says that in such a case, when you daven Musaf already, it's not really necessary to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei of Shachris. So Elo de Kosav, to become Mokum Mishum Suffolk, Yasne, you should daven that repeat Shemoneh Esrei, you should daven it conditionally. What does that mean conditionally? You should have in mind that if you're not really chayiv to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei of Shachris, because you already davened the Musaf and you mentioned Kedushas Hayom and Musaf, Mispalu B'teres Nedava. So then it should be that I'm repeating I'm davening another Shemoneh Esrei to make up for my flawed Shachris Shemoneh Esrei. If I'm not really chayiv to do it, it should have the status of a Tfilas Nedava. It should have the status of an extra, optional donation Shemoneh Esrei, a Tfilas Nedava. However, in Kishayu Mispal Shalosh Rishonos, Adas L'Hispal Musaf. But, says the Mishnah Berurah at the end of the day, so you davened Shachris Shemoneh Esrei on Rosh Chodesh, you left out yaaleh. It's time for Musaf. You start davening Musaf. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Yisrael v'Elokei Avraham v'Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov. Melech ha'Yzer Mashiach Magen, Baruch atah Hashem Magen Avram. Ata Gibar, Baruch atah Hashem Mechayim Esim. Ata Kadosh, Baruch atah Hashem Hakel HaKadosh. Or if it's Aseres Beit Tshuva coming up soon, HaMelech HaKadosh. Achein, Im Kishayim Mispal Shalosh Rishonos. If you davened the first 3 brachas of the Musaf Shemoneh Esrei, and you davened them al das l'hispal Musaf, right? I'm davening Musaf. And then Nizkar, you remember, Shaloy Amar Yalav Yava B'Tfilah Shachris. And now you remember, while you're davening the Musaf, you said the first 3 brachas of the Musaf Shemoneh Esrei, and now you realize, wait a second, why am I davening another Shemoneh Esrei now? Oh, because I'm davening Musaf. Why am I davening a Musaf now? It's not Shabbos. Oh, it's Rosh Chodesh. Uh-oh, I didn't say Yalav Yava B'Shachris. Bevada yesh lahoros, sheyisayim atfilah b'shal Shachris, v'achar kach yispal Musaf. Says the Mishnah Berurah, do an abrupt U-turn. Keep davening Shemoneh Esrei, but not Musaf. Shift it to Shachris mode, and this will be your repeat for Shachris, and say Yalav Yavai, and then daven Musaf. Okay, Mishnah Berurah is cut in hay. So the Mechaber said that if you say Ritzei and you close off Ritzei, and now you remember Yalav Yavai and you did not yet say Moedim, now say Yalav Yavai. You're going to squeeze in Yalav Yavai between the bracha of Avodah and the bracha of Haidah. Why could you do this? Because you did not yet begin the next bracha. Yes, you finished Avodah. If you would have already begun Haidah, now you're done. The only way you could reinsert Yalav Yavai is to go back to Ritzei. Because Yalav Yavai has no business after you already began the bracha of Haidah. It belongs in the bracha of Avodah. You closed out the bracha of Avodah, you can still squeeze it in. You know why? Because you didn't start the bracha of Haidah yet. But if you already started the bracha of Haidah, too late to squeeze in Moedim. So if you remembered before you said, too late to squeeze in Yalav Yavai. But if you already said the word Moedim, you already started the next bracha, the bracha of Haidah, too late. You can't, now you have no choice. You got to go back to Ritzei. Ois cutting hay. So the Mishnah Berurah says, Omer b'makom shenizka, v'achar kach yom Moedim. So you're going to say Ritzei, then Yalav Yavai, and then Moedim. V'hainu afilu kfar amar v'siyem berachas v'sechazena. The Mishnah Berurah wants to make sure that we clearly understand what the Mechaber is saying. Even though you already closed out the bracha of Ritzei with its chasima, so you already closed out the bracha of Avodah, you could still stick in Yalav Yavai. Now the Mishnah Berurah says something that's controversial. Let's say you did not yet complete the chasima of the bracha of Ritzei. You did not complete the bracha of Hamachzir Shchinas L'Tzion. Rak Amar Baruch Atah Hashem. So you said Ritzei, you forgot Yalav Yavai. You said V'sachazene Neinu B'Shem Chol Tzia Barachamim Baruch Atah Hashem. Ooh, you started the chasima. You said Baruch Atah Hashem. You already said the Shem. But you didn't complete it. You didn't say Hamachzir Shchinas L'Tzion. What should you do now? Paskins the Mishnah Berurah. Kasavnu le'el b'simin Kuf Yodal Tzivov. Chavetz Chaim says, I already wrote previously in Kuf Yodal Tzivov, B'bir Halacha. The Nachoin Yoiser, it would be better L'sayim, to complete Lamdeni Chukecha. Pasuk Kitilim, David HaMelech. Baruch Atah Hashem, Lamdeni Chukecha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you said Ritzei, you forgot yaaleh v'yavai, you said V'sachazedei Neim Shem L'tzim Barachim Baruch Atah Hashem. You might think that you already hit the point of no return. After all, you already said the shame. What are you going to do? You can't just back up and say yaaleh v'yavai, it'll be a shame levatollah. You said Baruch Atah Hashem. What's that shame doing over there if you don't finish the bracha? Finish the bracha? Chafetz Chaim's not so happy. Because if you finish the bracha, yeah, you could do what the Mechaber said. You could finish the bracha and insert yaaleh v'yavai before Moedim, but the Chafetz Chaim's not really happy with that. Because like I pointed out earlier, you're going to squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai between Avodah and Hoidah? It's divorced from a bracha. It's not in Avodah. It's certainly not in Hoidah. You can't put it in Hoidah. It's squeezed in the middle. It doesn't have a chasima. It's not going to have a bracha. What is it? It's like a yosem floating around over there somewhere. So the Chafetz Chaim is not happy. Now, it's not only Misvara that he's not happy. The reason he's not happy is because this whole eitzah that the Mechaber is paskening like, to squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai between Avodah and Hoidah, it's based on a raviyah. A raviyah, I don't want to make the raviyah sound like a kal yikaina. It's a raviyah, it's a rishon. But it's a major machlokes rishonim to do this or not to do this. The Mechaber is siding with the raviyah, but Chafetz Chaim is not so happy. So the Chafetz Chaim says, you know what? You said Baruch Atah Hashem. I don't want to push you into this psak of the Mechaber that's a very mechudesh tika pshat, that you should finish Hamachzir Shechinasei L'Tzion and then shoehorn yaaleh v'yavai in between Avodah and Hoidah. So instead, I'm going to give you another eitzah. You said Baruch Atah Hashem, say Lamdeni Chukecha, then say yaaleh v'yavai, right? Nachon Yoiser Lamdeni Chukecha, Kedoi Shelo Yeh Azkaras Hashem Levatollah, V'yomer yaaleh v'yavai, then say yaaleh v'yavai, V'achar kach yomer oidapam b'sechazena. So it's going to come out, you're going to do it like this. Ritzei, V'sechazena neim Shem L'tzim Barachim and Baruch Atah Hashem, oh, they got yaaleh v'yavai, Lamdeni Chukecha, Elokeinu is going to say yaaleh v'yavai, and then when you finish yaaleh v'yavai, V'sechazena neim Shem L'tzim Barachim, Baruch Atah Hashem, Hamachzir Shechinasei L'Tzion. Now, what's going to be fascinating about this way of doing things is that in middle of the bracha of Avodah, you're going to have Baruch Atah Hashem Lamdeni Chukecha in middle of the bracha of Avodah. But the Chafetz Chaim holds that this is the most preferable course of action. You can't just say Baruch Atah Hashem and stop, because if you do that, you said Hashem Levatollah. Baruch Atah Hashem Hamachzir Shechinasei L'Tzion, squeeze in yaaleh v'yavai. Yaaleh v'yavai is mitten they're in the middle of nowhere. What's it doing there? No, say Baruch Atah Hashem Lamdeni Chukecha. Say yaaleh v'yavai. Yaaleh v'yavai is b'mkomo yamedes. It's in the bracha of Ritzei. You didn't say Hashem Levatollah. No, you said Baruch Atah Hashem Lamdeni Chukecha in the middle of the bracha of Ritzei. That is the psak of the Mishnah Berurah. I'm looking at a picture of the Chafetz Chaim on my wall that's right here opposite me. Every day when I prepare shir and when I say shir, I have a picture of the Chafetz Chaim, that famous picture. I think they say it's from the Knessia Gedolah, and he with those scary eyes, and he's looking at me. Whew. Okay, so that's the Mishnah Berurah shir, and that's the psak of the Chafetz Chaim, and he closes off this ice cotton of Mishnah Berurah, and he says, "V'chein kosav b'shari tshuva." Chafetz Chaim says, "You think this is my own?" V'chein kosav b'shari tshuva. Having said that, the Yeshiva Zatzal, Rav Moshe Zechatzak Levracha, very unhappy. Very unhappy. I'll just read to you a little bit from the tshuva in the Igris. The Yeshiva Zatzal says, Aval hu tamua ma'oid. Yeshiva Zatzal says that there's a wonder. There's a mamsha tamua. Shaloi muvan klal. It's not understandable at all. That's what Rav Moshe writes. Shaloi muvan klal. Havadai baru pashut. It is certainly clear and obvious. Sha'asr lilmoid, that you're not allowed to learn Torah. Af psuke Torah. even a pasuk from the Torah like Baruch Atah Hashem L'Abdeinu Kukecha, be'emtza tefillah, in middle of Shemoneh Esrei, ube'emtza brachos, in middle of a bracha, Ritzei is a bracha for crying out loud. The psich of the bracha is the word Ritzei, the chasima of the bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem L'Abdeinu. So you're in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, Nish Nardos, you're in the middle of a bracha, and in therein, you're going to stick in a pasuk from Tilin, Baruch Atah Hashem L'Abdeinu Kukecha. V'haloimed be'emtza hu hefsik gomer, it is a hefsik gomer, ubatel bracha zu, and you're mevatel the bracha of Ritzei, v'tzarech ian gadol. Ulachein, and therefore says Rav Moshe, La Maisa loy nira sheyasu kein. Do not do this. El tzarech l'sayim hamachzir shchinasa l'tzion. You need to finish the bracha, and then you need to do the mechaber's eitza, v'yaaleh v'yavai, kamoi be'im hayin nizkar acha gemara bracha, kaharavya. You have to do like the Ravya and the Rosh, shapasku kein HaTorah, v'al shulchan aruch. You can't get more strongly worded than that. So you have a Mishnah Berurah and you have an Igros Moshe, and there you have it. Okay. Weiter. So the Mechaber had said that if you don't remember yaaleh v'yavai until after you began the bracha of Haidah, the Mechaber said if you don't remember yaaleh v'yavai until you already started the bracha of Haidah with the word moedim, so that it depends. When did you remember? If you remembered before you finished Shemoneh Esrei, chayzer l'ritzei. You're going to go back to ritzei. Okay, let's see Mishnah Berurah is cutting hay. No, I'm sorry, not hay. Vav. Chayzer l'ritzei. Now, this is a very interesting 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very interesting 4-word Mishnah Berurah is cutting, which when I learned it, first I was very puzzled. What exactly is the Mishnah Berurah telling me? The Mishnah Berurah says that I've cut involved chayzer l'ritzei. So let's give the scenario like I gave it earlier. You said ritzei. You forgot yaaleh v'yavai. You said Baruch Atah Hashem Hamaschil Shinasa L'Tzion. You still didn't remember yaaleh v'yavai. You said moedim. You still didn't remember yaaleh v'yavai. Maybe you already closed off the bracha of moedim. Baruch Atah Hashem Atay Shibachal Lechan Elohaidos. So now you had a complete bracha of avodah, albeit without yaaleh v'yavai. You had a complete bracha of Haidah. And the bracha of Haidah is not even flawed, right? Because you didn't say yaaleh v'yavai. Yaaleh v'yavai doesn't belong in Haidah. So your bracha of Haidah was perfect. Now you realize, whoops, forgot yaaleh v'yavai. What do? Says the Mechaber, you go back to Ritzei. Now, why are you going back to Ritzei? Well, the reason you're going back to Ritzei is because you have to reinsert yaaleh v'yavai. So yaaleh v'yavai belongs in Ritzei. So go back to Ritzei. So fine. I understand that. You didn't finish Shemoneh Esrei yet. We want to fix your Shemoneh Esrei. You have the opportunity. Go back to Ritzei and insert yaaleh v'yavai where it belongs in Ritzei. Some people might question, well, wait a second. Why don't you just go back to after Ritzei? Why don't you just go back to Baruch Atah, like after Hamaschil Shinasa L'Tzion, right? Just insert yaaleh v'yavai over there. Well, that's a big b'diavad, right? We see how much the Chofetz Chaim doesn't like it. You have to go back already. Go back to Ritzei. But in a way, you would question, fine, I'm going back to Ritzei, and I'm repeating the bracha of Ritzei, because the first time I said the bracha of Ritzei, I did it wrong. I didn't put in yaaleh v'yavai. So I'm going to repeat the bracha of Ritzei, and I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to put in yaaleh v'yavai. But maybe what you should do is repeat the bracha of Ritzei with yaaleh v'yavai, say Baruch Atah Hashem Hamaschil Shinasa L'Tzion, and maybe then go to Sim Shalom. Why am I repeating the bracha of Haidah? What was wrong with the bracha of Haidah? Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Vav, chayzer l'ritzei, d'shalosh achronos chashuvos ka'achas. Because you have to understand that the last 3 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, they're really considered one long bracha. The first 3 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei are considered one unit, and the last 3 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei are considered one unit. And therefore, it's not a question of Ritzei was flawed The bracha of avodah was flawed. The bracha of haidah is perfect. You're going back, go fix the bracha of avodah, but what do you want from the bracha of haidah? No. If you messed up in the bracha of avodah, you messed up on the unit of the last three brachas of Shemoneh Esrei. So if we're making you go back to avodah to insert yaaleh v'yavai, guess what? It's not only avodah that you're going to repeat. You're going to repeat avodah, you're going to repeat haidah. If you didn't realize this problem until in middle of the bracha of shalom, so let's say you finished haidah, and then you said sim shalom, and somewhere in the middle of sim shalom, you remember that you forgot yaaleh v'yavai, you're going to repeat sim shalom. Indeed, we're going to see that if you finished the bracha of shalom, Baruch atah Hashem ha'mavarich es Am Yisrael b'shalom, but you did not yet hit what we call the completion of Shemoneh Esrei, you're going to repeat all three of the last three brachas of Shemoneh Esrei. Because you're going to go back to avodah, ritzei, you're going to repeat haidah, and you're going to repeat shalom. Why? The explanation in a very terse Mishnah Berurah says the Chavetz Chaim, the Shal Shakranis, Cheshuvas Ka'achas, because the last three brachas of Shemoneh Esrei are one unit. Okay, now we have to go weiter. Wow, this share is taking me by surprise. Guess I'm in a very verbose mood this morning. We're already 40 minutes into the share. This is almost like the good old days of Hilchos Eruvin. Okay, weiter. Stop talking so much. Okay, says the Mechaber. So the Mechaber said on the second line, for the sake of continuity, I'm going to read from there. But what do you do if you don't realize your mistake until you finished Shemoneh Esrei? So the Mechaber said, Chayzel Rosh. Then you have to go back to the beginning. So let's take that as step number one. The klal, the rule, says the Mechaber, if you don't remember your mistake until you finished Shemoneh Esrei, whatever that means, if you don't realize your mistake until you finished Shemoneh Esrei, Chayzel Rosh. You're going to go back to the beginning. You have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Zayin. Ad shehishlim tfilasai. Says the Mishnah Berurah, high level. What does it mean, Ad shehishlim tfilasai? What does it mean until you finished Shemoneh Esrei? So first, says the Mishnah Berurah, one very important thing I have to point out to you, says the Chavetz Chaim. Hainu shesiyem berkas sim shalom. It means that you completed the bracha of shalom, meaning that you said Baruch atah Hashem ha'mavarich es Am Yisrael b'shalom. That's the kasima of the bracha of shalom. So you finished the bracha of sim shalom. You closed it out. Baruch atah Hashem ha'mavarich es Am Yisrael b'shalom. That's not yet completing Shemoneh Esrei. Va'amar, and you said Yiyul Ratzain Imrei Fi v'Hagin Libi Lefanecha Hashem Tzuri v'Gayali. The Yiyul Ratzain Mechlal Atfilu, because the pasuk Yiyul Ratzain Imrei Fi v'Hagin Libi Lefanecha Hashem Tzuri v'Gayali is part and parcel of Shemoneh Esrei. The same way in the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei, Hashem Sfasai Tiftach V'Yagiti Losecha is part of Shemoneh Esrei. That's why it's not a hefsek ben Geula L'Tfila. So Hashem Svasai Tiftach V'Yagiti Losecha is the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei. Yula Rotzaidim Reifi V'Yagili B'Lefanach Hashem Tzuri V'Gayali is the end of Shemoneh Esrei. Ukedel El B'Simin Kof Chav Beis Sef Aleph. And by the way, that's why, according to Rav Moshe, when you daven for the Amud by Chazaras Hashatz, you're supposed to say Hashem Svasai Tiftach V'Yagiti Losecha out loud. Interestingly enough, not Yula Rotzain, but Hashem Svasai Tiftach V'Yagiti Losecha you're supposed to say out loud when you're down for the Amud, Rabbi Isaac. At least according to Rav Moshe. Okay. So, again, this is very much high level. Because we're going to see it's going to get a little more nuanced. But a high level, the Mechaber said, if you don't realize it till you finish Shemoneh Esrei, you have to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what does it mean until you finish Shemoneh Esrei? You might think finished Shemoneh Esrei means Baruch atah Hashem ha'mavarich es Am Yisrael b'shalom. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. Definitely, Yula Ratzain Imrei Fi is considered part of Shemoneh Esrei. So if you said ha'mavarich es Am Yisrael b'shalom, and you realize you forgot yaaleh v'yavai, and you did not yet say Yula Ratzain, you're not repeating Shemoneh Esrei, you're going back to ritzei. Because definitely you didn't finish Shemoneh Esrei yet. You didn't say Yula Ratzain. Okay. But now it gets more nuanced. Let's go back into the Mechaber. Says the Mechaber near the end of the second line. If you're in the habit of saying additional tchinos additional supplications after the end of Shemoneh Esrei. So you normally say, Baruch Atah Hashem HaMavarech Sama Yisrael B'Shalom, Yul Ratzanim Refi V'Hegel Libel Fanach Hashem Tzuri V'Gayali, and then you say additional tefillos. For example, Elakainu Tzalushayni Meira Svasi B'Dabri Mirma, Yul Ratzanim Fanach Hashem Elakainu V'Elakainu V'Sein Shebana Beis Hamikdash Me'em Yeveim V'Sechel B'Sarasecha. If you say additional tachanunim after the completion of Shemoneh Esrei, which I dare say all of us, this applies to virtually all of us, we all are ragil loymar tachanunim after the end of Shemoneh Esrei. So v'imu ragil loymar tachanunim akat tfilasai, v'nizkar achar shehishlim tfilasai, and you remember that you forgot yaaleh v'yavai after the end of Shemoneh Esrei, meaning after the end of Yul Ratzanim Refi, right? That's what the Mishnah Berurah told us is called the end of Shemoneh Esrei. So if you are ragil loymar tachanunim achar tfilasai, which we almost all of us are, and you remember yaaleh v'yavai after you completed Shemoneh Esrei, meaning after you said Baruch Atah Hashem HaMavarech Sama Yisrael B'Shalom Yul Ratzanim Refi V'Hegel Libel Fanach Hashem Tzuri V'Gayali. So now you finished Shemoneh Esrei, but you did not yet say your tachanunim Koydem Sheyakar Raglov, before you finished your tachanunim and stepped out of Shemoneh Esrei, Chayzel Ritzei. You still go back to Ritzei. So this means that for virtually all of us, you said Baruch Atah Hashem HaMavarech Sama Yisrael B'Shalom. You said Yul Ratzanim Refi V'Hegel Libel Fanach Hashem Tzuri V'Gayali. So you finished Shemoneh Esrei. Alakainu Tzalushayni Meira Svasi B'Dabri Mirma V'chol Hakamim V'Achoshvim Alai. All people who are thinking thoughts against me. All of those people nowadays protesting, and I'm not going to name names because I'm going to get banned, canceled. All of the people who love us, all of those people who are thinking thoughts against me. Behera Hofer Atzasam, the Kalka Machshaftam. We asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, he should be Mayfair, he should disrupt their schemes, the Kalka Machshaftam, and he should distort their thought processes. A very important tefillah nowadays. And now you remember that you forgot yaaleh v'yavai, you go back to Ritzei. Because you're still in the middle of your tachanunim. And since you're still in the middle of your tachanunim, it's not called that you finished Shemoneh Esrei. Even though you said HaMavarech Sama Yisrael B'Shalom, you said Yul Ratzanim, but you didn't finish your Shemoneh Esrei yet because you're ragil loymar tachanunim and you're still in the middle of your tachanunim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Kan Ches. V'emu ragil, ve'ein nafkamina b'zeh beinim omer ha'tachanunim koydem Yul Ratzanim yachar Yul Ratzanim. Even though you're saying these tachanunim after Yul Ratzanim, which I just told you is considered the end of Shemoneh Esrei, doesn't matter. You're still considered in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, and you're still going to go back to Ritzei. Why? Because as long as you're still saying your tachanunim, or maybe you said Yul Ratzanim and you still have tachanunim left to say, it's not called the end of your Shemoneh Esrei. So you still go back to Ritzei. Now, the Mishnah Berurah now at Ois Katan Tes picks a little bit on the words of the exact phraseology of the Mechaber. The Mechaber said if you're ragil loymar tachanunim and you remember that you forgot yaaleh v'yavai after the end of Shemoneh Esrei, but koydem sheyakar raglov, before you moved your feet, before you stepped out of Shemoneh Esrei. So then the Mechaber says you still go back to Ritzei. Sounds a little bit like the Mechaber that he's introducing a new point of no return. What's this new point of no return? Yakar Raglov. Did you step out of Shemoneh Esrei or not? So it sounds like, from the Mechaber, what if I'm ragil loymar tachanunim, but I finished all of my tachanunim? So I said HaMavarech Sama Yisrael B'Shalom, and I said Yul Ratzanim. High level, my Shemoneh Esrei is finished. But I'm ragil loymar tachanunim, so my Shemoneh Esrei is not finished, because I still have to say my tachanunim. But I finished my tachanunim. Oh, okay, you finished your tachanunim, but you weren't oiker raglov. Sounds from the words of the Mechaber like maybe you go back to Ritzei still, because the point of no return that he's introducing now is koydem sheyakar raglov. If you moved your feet already, if you stepped out of Shemoneh Esrei, too late. But if you didn't, maybe you could still go back to Ritzei. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. No, that's not what the Mechaber means. Says the Mishnah Berurah's cut and test. Not at high lishna. The only reason the Mechaber introduced Koydem Shiaka Raglov, Mishum da Mechaber Mayri Shadayin Lo Yamar Tachnunim. What the Mechaber is saying is, oh, you finished Shemoneh Esrei because you already said Yula Ratsenim Reifi. But you're Raga Loimer Tachnunim. Now, because you're Raga Loimer Tachnunim, you weren't Oikar Raglov yet. Why weren't you Oikar Raglov? Because you didn't finish your Shemoneh Esrei. Because you can still say Tachanunim. But that's the bar. The bar is the Tachanunim. Oikar Raglov is just another way of the Mechaber saying you didn't yet finish your Tachanunim. Because if you finished your Tachanunim, you would have been Oikar Raglov, right? But you didn't finish your Tachanunim, and that's why you weren't Oikar Raglov. But the point is the Tachanunim. If you finished your Tachanunim and you're not going to say any more Tachanunim, your Shemoneh Esrei is over, whether you were Oikar Raglov or not. And now you're not going to go back to Ritzei. Rak. Tekev de Rogil, Mistami Yaschel Loimer Gavata. Since you're Rogil Loimer Tachanunim, you're not being Oikar Raglov because you're going to still say Tachanunim. Avalim Kfar Omar Tachanunim. But if you already said all of your Tachanunim, V'siyem Oisam, complete, Ve'ein B'machshavta Loimer Oid, and you know you're not going to say anything else, Afilu Adayin Lo Yokar Raglov, even if you didn't move your feet yet, Kemisha Akardami, it's as if you did. And now you're going to go back to the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei. Now you're going to repeat Shemoneh Esrei. Now, this is not really negaya to us. The reason is because we are not completing our Tachanunim really before we're Oikar Raglov. We do Akiras Raglov together with the end of our Tachanunim. We say Oiseh Shalom B'Mroima V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu while we're stepping out of Shemoneh Esrei. But the point is that the point of no return is the end of the Tachanunim. As long as you're still saying Tachanunim, as long as you still have in mind to say Tachanunim, your Shemoneh Esrei is not over. Okay, I'm not going to do the Ramah now. It's already overtime. Thank you so much for joining me for Liman HaTorah. Discuss the Liman HaTorah. She will make against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shem should send Yeshuas, Refus, Parnasa, Sheduchim, till those in need. We should be zocheh to see the BSKL Tzedek B'mher V'Yameinu. Amen. Be well.